Venice, a masterpiece among cities, rises like a vision from the foam of the sea. Princely palaces of purest marble range in majestic order along glittering lagoons that resound with the music of flashing wavelets, rhythmic oars, and the songs of the gondoliers. Bathed in liquid moonlight, her monumental churches with the polychrome brightness of glowing gold and precious mosaics have been preserved down through the centuries. In no other place in the world is it easier to forget the present and reconstruct the past, for here the 20th century falls away and the Middle Ages linger on. A black gondola in the silent canal might still be on a mysterious mission of espionage, under secret orders from the dreaded Council of Ten, while in the passing patrician palaces, counter schemes of political intrigue might still be plotted far into the night. For in the course of numerous centuries, Venice, built on the sea, derived great wealth from the sea that had to be defended always tooth and nail. Yet, instead of bearing the stamp of medieval towers and forts, one finds a city devoted to art. With perfect marble statues and sumptuous palaces, their frescoed facades reflected in a fairyland of liquid light. Morning, and the queen of cities awakes to a new day. Boats are made ready to go to market just as they have gone out for more than 1,000 years. In and out of the many canals they wind, manned by the descendants of a once great power that had the transport traffic of the world in her hands. Today, the shadowy walls of silent palaces brood over the lapping waters, charged with memories of a long and glorious past. But life begins anew as the barges deliver the morning milk, and the iceman makes his daily call. Any ice today, lady? Okay, Tony, 10 soldi's worth. While the market boats float into groups of golden color amidst the sea-washed streets and the sun-washed sea, fully laden with pimentos, tomatoes, cabbages, melons, and lettuce, making their way around to the back door or its equivalent in Venice. And, of course, a melon must be carried this way. But the many casks of wine denote a special occasion. Oh yes, it's the day of the Carnival. And for those who can't take it straight, there is always plenty of seltzer to add to bubbling spirits. And good old Chianti too, as always. In case some imbibe too freely and fall in the water, the ambulance is right there already. Gondoliers or Venetian taxi drivers are out early to pick up the sightseeing fares. They use only one oar, which acts as a rudder. They pass ancient palaces that have weathered the elements of wind and sea for 1,000 years, some decorated with rare paintings by the great masters who once flourished here. And then on the Grand Canal, the Rialto Bridge, made immortal by Shakespeare in his Merchant of Venice. Rich in imagery and pictorial harmony, the Venetian scene possesses a character all of its own. The magnificent Doge's palace is a splendid example of the Venetian Gothic style. A multitude of pigeons surround the 325-foot campanile or bell tower in famous St. Mark's Plaza. Exactly at the same time every day, they descend into the square to be fed. The crowning glory of Venice is the majestic Cathedral of St. Mark's, mainly in the Byzantine style. Surmounting the central portal are the 4 famous traveling horses brought back as spoils from the conquest of Constantinople in the year 1204. To the right of St. Mark's is the renowned clock tower erected in 1496. The dial plate is marked off for 24 hours. On a platform on the roof is the huge bell, with 2 giant figures said to represent Moors who strike the hour with sledgehammers. From across the Plaza of St. Mark, the largest open space on solid ground in Venice, we are attracted to the Grand Canal again, where in the neighborhood of the Rialto Bridge, the Carnival festivities will soon take place, and where already numerous boats are beginning to assemble in regatta formation. The origin of these festivals dates back to the time when some great miracle was performed, usually the sudden ending of a terrible plague, the scourge of the Middle Ages. To religious devotions are added many entertainments and pageants, including the Corpus Domini processions, the 15th century tournaments, and the Carnival revels. With the magnificent ducal palace and the graceful campanile as a backdrop, the gaily decorated gondolas now form a grand pageant. Famous scenes from Venetian history are portrayed on huge floats. Though the birth of Venice is shrouded in mystery, the little islands were early inhabited by refugees from the declining Roman Empire. In order to safeguard their position, they elected a chief called a duke in the year 697 and created a republic that flourished for 1,000 years. But it was 1,000 years of almost constant warfare, war against pirates, wars of conquest and expansion, and finally, wars of defense against jealous and bitter rivals. The Carnival is now in a frenzy of excitement as it passes under the Rialto Bridge. The gondolier paddling away for dear life. Boats are filled to overflowing with merrymakers in a variety of costumes, flowers and streamers dangling everywhere. The final float with the half moon signifies that darkness will soon be upon them, with increased revelry under cover of the night. And so a day in Venice comes to a glorious end, as the sun sets in a symphony of changing colors like a rich canvas from one of her master painters brought to life. With grace and majesty, Venice, the queen of the Adriatic, sits supreme on her throne in all the splendor of her immortal beauty.